Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another series of Sustain Talk at Sustain and Save, a knowledge and resource inspiration platform which focuses on creating awareness in sustainability and circular economy. This is Pranati Shroff, the founder of Sustain and Save, and I'm happy to share that today we have with us a dear friend and a very, very inspirational person, Jasmine. Jasmine Sophia, she's the head of CSR and sustainability at Suzlon Group. I'm sure Vaishali Chajed Parekh will introduce her eventually, but since she's a good friend, welcome Jasmine, welcome for today's session, and we're really looking forward to hearing some inspirational stories from you. Before we session, let me give you a brief introduction about Sustain and Save. It's a very, very nascent organization. It was started on 22nd of April during the lockdown. The main aim is to create a corporate impact and a social impact. So we believe that we as individuals can make a difference and all of us together can make an impact. It's a one-stop solution on sustainability by the Indians for the Indians. Our aim is to promote green products and green services, just like any other. So we've been working on a lot of products and services, and today we have something slightly different where we're talking about a foundation who does a lot of work. So an NGO, but a corporate company working on grassroots level. So that's what we are going to be focusing on today. While we all know the whole concept of reduce, reuse, recycle, we have a slightly different way of looking at the 3 R's. We believe in re-innovate, redefine, and being responsible. What is re-innovate? Where we are talking about substitutes. So look at new innovations and substitutes for the present problem. Redefine, rethink the way we look at sustainability. Be responsible. We are responsible. Don't wait for somebody else to make a difference. It is us who can make a difference. We believe mass consumerism behavior is responsible for mass circularity. Through mass circularity, we are going to get sustainable affordability. This initiative at Sustain and Save, which began with around 5 or 10 individuals, is grown now. And we have been fortunate to have more than 200 plus change makers involved with us at Sustain and Save. We are also running a program called the Change Makers Program, which we've received overwhelming response and have had young individuals really thinking different. They are the future and they will make a difference with us. Last month, we focused on green products, and this month we are looking at green services. So this month we'll be looking at green services. We will be ending this month's session with an inspirational story by Jasmine Sophia, the head of CSR and sustainability at Suzlon. To take her interview, we have with us Vaishali Chajed Parekh, whom I will request to introduce Jasmine and take it forward.
Thanks so much, Jasmine, Dr. Jasmine, to come on board and give us the privilege to have an interview session with you to understand a little more about what Suzlon does and what you do at Suzlon. So to give a brief introduction of what Dr. Jasmine Gogia heads, she has the customer corporate social responsibility and sustainability at Suzlon Foundation. She has working with her 8 CSR managers and 32 NGO partners across 9 Indian states and 2 union territories. Dr. Gogia is also the chairperson of POSH, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment, Workplace Committee within Suzlon Group. At Suzlon, she leads occupational health as well and brings a very special vibrancy into everything she works on. Jasmine is a medical doctor, MD, in medicine in public health by training. She has 27 years of experience in environment, rural development, and public health. She has worked in the WHO, that is the World Health Organization, polio surveillance program, and in the national and international health and rural development agencies, and believes that innovation will save the planet. Her work is dedicated to fighting poverty, hunger, and disease among rural and remote villages in India. She states that poverty is a mass human rights violation which can be beaten together and in a democratic way one village at a time. So, our focus today is on the Suzhok. Now, in November 2019, Suzlon won the CII ITC Sustainability Award, where the Suzhok played a big role in underlining the sustainability in your work. Dr. Gogia, can you explain to us what is Suzhok?
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. The idea of Suzhok actually starts off when I have always been pained by seeing that there is a lot of plastic lying all around. I started off by going for river cleaning project, volunteering for the same in Pune city along with my daughters. And during that time, I found that the plastic from all walks of life finds its way into rivers. And it's quite unimaginable, the kind of things we throw away and then find that it is somewhere near the river. Similarly, when I was doing work in the rural area, while walking everywhere, you would find that there's a lot of plastic lying around. And it actually never bothered the rural people because they had so many other needs, and therefore plastic was last on their mind. So we as a CSR team, along with my CSR managers, we started brainstorming on what can we do. It was clear to us that whatever we do had to be simple and low cost. So therefore, while brainstorming, one of our CSR managers, Sanjay Shivadas, he started pondering on various aspects, and then voila, he said that, I think we can use the hook, which is traditionally a piece of metal which is used to file away paper. In the past, the rural people also used to use it to file away bills. We can use that, modify it, shape it into a hook, tie a string to it with a knot at the end, and we can start collecting plastic in that. This was mainly because there is no provision for plastic collection or waste segregation in the rural area. In the urban area, the municipal corporation in some city provides 2 dustbins, one for the wet and one for the dry. But in rural areas, if we were to invest in dustbins for each household and then ensuring transportation from house to house collection, the cost is high and it would be difficult for us to raise those kinds of funds. So it was that urge that we had to do something for removing the plastic, and that it was really not the priority of the village people. We had to bring it to their notice that this is a menace. That has really helped us. This innovation has helped us to do that. So that's how the Suzhok was born.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I mean, that is an excellent, brilliant, simple idea. And usually the simplest ideas take the most big aha moment, to come on board. But the simpler it is, the more sustainable it becomes. So with this focus on Suzhok, you developed a Suzhok initiative drive, is that so? Can you help us understand what this is?
Yes, so once we were quite sure that this was something that was doable, then all our different managers pitched in with their own ideas, and we co-created a small drive where we said that we would initially start at the schools, and because the children are the ones who make a great impact in the minds of elders and their homes. So in the schools, we started having some competition where we would distribute the hooks. We would talk about all the menace that the plastic creates in terms of the animals consuming the plastic and dying, the pollution of the river bodies, the clogging of the drains causing malaria. So we started pitching to the students that here is a tool, a very simple tool which you can use and you can save lives of animals, you can prevent malaria. So they all got very motivated and they would take the hook to their homes and start bringing back plastic which is strung to that hook and bring it to the school, and it would be like a small competition as to who has brought more plastic from their homes. And in return, in some areas we have given cloth bags so that you prevent getting plastic from the shopkeeper. So these were small things that was built around the program. Slowly we started going to the household level through the village development committees which we had set up, and then the households, there was a huge response because everyone found it a very fun thing to do as well as it was easy to do, and actually it prevented collection of waste in their households, and at the same time the streets were clean. I will say that it was not a cakewalk because, as you know, with all behavior change programs, there is a need for a lot of convincing. There is a need to monitor, inspire. Strategies have to be put into place to even start off such a drive and to sustain it. So it has been a lot of work by the team and the lovely NGO partners that we have and the Suzlon employees who are the volunteers. But yes, it was converted from the school and then it went into the households, and that's how we had tons of plastic waste that was collected. And then we also had tie-up with the recycling agencies and ensured that the plastic was recycled in a responsible manner.
Excellent. You mentioned that there were challenges while you were doing this drive. Can you let us know a little bit more about what kind of challenges you faced?
First thing was to tell them and convince them that cleanliness drive, a one-time cleanliness drive or a periodic cleanliness drive is not sustainable, and you need to first prevent the waste from coming out into the street. So unless we have a system in place, that cannot happen. So that was the first thing. The second was everything is a force of habit. So when you are so accustomed to going to the shop, buying something, and the wrapper of the biscuit or the toffee is just thrown anywhere. So the change of behavior and in the rural environment, where they have so many things to worry about, is a little difficult, and we had to persist and have continuous dialogue. And one of the strategies that we used to overcome this particular challenge was to translate the loss that plastic brought to their lives. So we would start by saying, what is the cost of losing one cow or one buffalo? What is the cost of taking treatment for malaria? What is the cost of getting ill with polluted water? So these kind of things we would talk and try to overcome the challenge of convincing people to adapt this practice.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was very helpful to understand how you address these challenges, because as you have to scale, I presume you have to scale this initiative to multiple villages, and was this implementation scalable in the first place, or did you just be able to do one village at a time?
So it's a very scalable initiative. The reason is it is very low cost, and second is it can be made with local material. It's also something that is adaptable because you don't have to explain anything much, in the sense the technology is not so complicated. It's just about putting the plastic into the hook. So all of these features made it very scalable, and because we had multiple grassroots level very good partners who are on ground and have already been in touch with the communities for various other development programs, it was easy for them to start a dialogue at this for this particular SUZHOOK drive. Still, convincing people that this is a priority, that waste is something that is harmful to them, was definitely a challenge. And each partner and CSR manager has tried to use their own tricks to ensure that they do it well. Another aspect of this SUZHOOK is that it actually evolved in the whole process. Like each village tried to modify the hook and suit for their village. In Karnataka, for example, they had one common big hook in which they came and kept the smaller hooks. So it was for each street. Now this was something that we had not thought of. So the reason SUZHOOK is such a fun and thing is because it is innovating and growing by itself, and actually it becomes a raw material for anyone who wants to take it further and innovate. So that's really very interesting, and it keeps us going.
That is great to know that it was kind of by itself, and you have an idea that can be itself. It's something that is phenomenal because it allows and gives the flexibility to everyone to do a little more tweaking the way they want to, so then they feel they are kind of part of it and invested in it. Now, I understand this is proven as well. I mean, this can be used, so it is something for the poor as well and implementable. Were you able to measure the implementation, and what did that measuring bring to you?
So at Suzlon, we always believe that whatever we do, we have to plan and monitor it very well, and we should be very clear about what is the outcome which we expect. So similarly for the SUZHOOK drive, we started off by looking at the adaptation that has been done by the different households. So till to this day, about 27,000 households have been adapting this particular SUZHOOK. Of course, it's about 290 villages. Now, each village, the degree of adaptation, the complete package may differ, but the sensitization and the reach of the hook has gone to over 290 villages, and it's growing by the day. Also, those houses which have adapted, they then go on explaining to the others who are a little bit lagging behind or having some doubts about whether they should or should not use it. And so they themselves become champions. So we have been looking at case stories as well. There have been villages which have proactively taken on the whole thing, like the Village Development Committee has taken ownership of the SUZHOOK program. There is a tie-up between the villages and a recycler who is regularly collecting the plastic and taking it from the villages. In some other villages, there are rag pickers who are getting ready-made plastic which is already strung in a hook, rather than they roaming for kilometers where the plastic has spread because of the wind and the hazard that it creates for them. So these are some of the impacts, the results that we have found, and we have been monitoring them and keeping track of these results.
Excellent. So you mentioned that the adaptability rate person to village to village. Did you, when you did this, did you need any support to implement it? Yes, you had committee and you had the village, but in addition to that, was there any additional support required?
The capacity building of the NGO was important because they also have to have the ownership, and they were already our implementing partners for other programs. So this was superimposed on the other programs. Apart from that, the Village Development Committee, as I mentioned, was part of it. At the moment, we have tried to collaborate with the Swachh Bharat initiative, with the government bodies. So whenever they are looking at Swachh Bharat initiative during the campaigns for 2-3 weeks, we introduce this particular concept and we involve them so that whatever is happening with Swachh Bharat initiative gets included in the SUZHUK drive. So in that sense, we have some alignment, but we have not yet come up with a tie-up with the government agency as of now. We have had several inquiries from different academic institutions and other bodies, and we are exploring how we can scale up to other agencies as well, so that it goes beyond our field area.
Yeah, so we've been getting these questions, but as Suzlon Foundation, so you said you adopted about 800 villages. So is this the only initiative that you'll take up, or what is the holistic initiative that you'll take up at Suzlon, like the 800 villages that you work with?
So actually, the villages where the wind turbines are located, they are our primary focus areas, and there are over 1,000 villages in that sense. But because of paucity of resources, we are able to focus on some 800 plus villages. And out of these 800 villages, we first try to determine what are the needs of the communities over there. These are mostly remote rural areas where it could be, in some states, the desert areas, the coastal areas, or hilly areas where wind is available in plenty. And the needs of these villages, once they are identified, based on available resources, we look at which are the things which we can prioritize. And our approach has been that we come in partnership with the community, which is our customer, and we try to look at which of these we can work together, because the stake of the village is very important. Unless there is ownership, we generally deny even working in some villages where we feel that there is only expectation and there is no collaboration coming from that village. In these villages, based on the needs, we start off activities like which could be related to health or livelihood, education, or the environment. And just to give you an example, in a place like Rajasthan, water becomes one of the key issues. So then we start work on water. And similarly, depending on the different states and villages, the initiatives are tailor-made to that particular village. But we soon noticed that if we would just start off by looking at one initiative, do something, and then go off, then this is not sustainable. And therefore, we looked at an empowerment approach. We started building village development committees, which are present in over 550 villages. These village development committees are the ones who are groomed through a 7-stage process, so that at the end of the different initiatives that we take up, they become self-sustaining. They have skills over a period of 5 to 6 years. They know how to plan the program, monitor the program, implement the program, and also generate funds so they can take care of their own villages. So the village development committees we have formed, and through them, whatever are the top few priorities of the villages, that becomes our project. So actually the village defines what projects we do. Suzuk, only when you see it, you will believe it.
पहिले घाण होतं आमच्या गावात. बाजारातून काही आणायचं, खाव वगैरे, भाजीपाला आणायचं, पिशी वगैरे फेकत होते रस्त्याच्या अंगणात कुठे.
पावसाळ्यात डबक्यात टाकून द्यायचो, पाणी साचायचं, डास व्हायचे, मग आजार उद्भवायचे, मलेरिया, डेंगू.
आमच्या 30,000 40,000च्या म्हशी असत्या, बकरे असतात.
ते गाईच्या गोठ्यात जाऊन ते तिथंच राहायचं. मग एखादी दाव गुरं पण खाऊन घ्यायची त्याला, मग त्यांना आजार उद्भवायचे.
मरून जात होते म्हशी, ते लगेच आमचं नुकसान होत होतं.
ग्रामविकास प्रकल्पाच्या अंतर्गत जेव्हा आम्ही ह्या सर्व 35 गावांमध्ये फिरलोत, कामं केलीत, तर लोकांनी एक प्रकारच्यानी पहिली आम्हाला गोष्ट सांगितली की प्लास्टिक फार मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये आमच्या गावामध्ये आहे, तर याच्यावर काय करता येईल. आम्ही बराच विचार केल्यानंतर आम्हाला लक्षात आलं की हे साधा तार पासून आपल्याला मिळालेला आहे. हा हुक आम्ही बनवला. या हुकला गावातलं पडलेलं प्लास्टिक आम्ही फक्त लावलं.
1 वर्षापासून आम्ही टाचांमध्ये प्लास्टिक जमा करतो.
आणि गावात कुठे आम्ही पिशी वगैरे राहतात पडलेले, तरी आम्ही उचलून घेतात, हुकमध्ये आणतात.
आणि याचा इतका सुंदर प्रतिसाद आम्हाला मिळाला. आतापर्यंत जवळजवळ 1500 किलो प्लास्टिक आम्ही रिसायकलला पाठवलं. आणि त्याच्यापासून आम्हाला वस्तू स्वरूपात काळे पाईप मिळाले. आणि त्या काळे पाईप परत गावामध्ये आणून त्यांच्या उपयोगासाठी, आता शेतकरी असेल त्याच्या शेतामध्ये, काही लोकांचं जे गटारींचं पाणी बाहेर वाहत होतं त्यांच्यासाठी याचा उपयोग झाला.
आता आमच्या गावात घाण वगैरे नाही दिसत का, आमच्या गावात स्वच्छता झाली.
So here you go, doctor. Quick rapid fire question. Are you ready for this?
Now you're making me nervous.
Who is your role model?
Clearly, my role model are my parents. My parents have always been giving. I think from the time I have seen them, always thinking of others. My father is one of the biggest philanthropists from when I have known him, and my mother is the same. So definitely they are my primary role models. But I would say that everyone whom I meet, I find something so unique in them, who are junior, senior, whoever. I think each one has something that you can pick up. Definitely every human being has got that. So everyone is a role model.
Thanks. Next rapid fire question. What has these village developments given to you?
Village development actually has taught me a lot. I'm very, very grateful for that. They have taught me to be resilient because they are always smiling in the face of any adversity. So also they have taught hospitality because they may not have anything, but they welcome you into their homes with such a warm heart. So I am very grateful for that. That's what they have taught me, and also to have faith because they smile so much, and in spite of everything you feel blessed that you have what you have after going into the villages.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. What would be your message to the youth of the nation? You have worked so much in all these villages. What would your message be?
Now you're making me feel old. So I actually love working with young people, I find that they really have a lot to offer, and my message to youth would be to expose themselves to and be associated with organizations who work with the underprivileged people, the downtrodden from various walks of life, and that too at an early phase. Get associated, go to different places like the villages and the urban slums, and the insights that you will get will be very valuable to you, whether you are a manager or a CEO of a company. And some of these insights on sustainability is very, very important for business, because as you know, today COVID-19 has been able to show us the interconnectedness that we have. And if that interconnectedness we are able to be aware of as young people, we will make the right decisions wherever we are, in whichever field and whichever position we are.
Great. Last question. How do you like to spend your leisure time?
My work is my leisure, so I really enjoy that. And if I am not at work, then I like to meditate and keep myself fit.
Thank you so much. That was excellent, and excellent answers to all the questions, and thanks for enlightening us with SUZHOOK. That was a pleasure to learn how simple things can make great lives and great livelihood.
Thank you, Jasmine, for sharing the concept of SUZHOOK. We've used it for blogging as one of our initiatives under the Swedish Institute Alumni Program, and I'm happy to share that Jasmine is also a colleague at the Swedish Institute, where we together we've done some great programs and interacted at different forums. So we used it, and it was overwhelming the way the Suzlon has been associated and worked at ground level. So they don't believe in just doing things by giving money, but they believe in creating programs which people can implement at the grassroots. And Jasmine, correct me if I'm wrong, but you all believe in engaging people to its utmost, right?
Actually, we feel the power lies with them. So we facilitate so that they are able to take decisions on their own. And they should tell us that you are not required anymore and we can take the initiatives on our own. So we wait for them to come to that level.
And we at Sustain and Save are glad and can proudly say that Suzlon Foundation is a partner with us since our inception and has been very supportive. So we're really thankful, and we look forward to having more and more collaborations with Suzlon in years to come and in times to come.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you. Bye.